Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking college hoops. Head to the Big Ten where Illinois is facing off with Minnesota. It's President's Day week, which means we've got a nice little code for 20% off the entire site of picksandparlays.net. Use the code USA. The Fighting Illini on the road here and favored -5.5, total of 149.5. Illinois comes in 15-5 on the year, 12-8 against the number. Meanwhile, the Golden Gophers 13-9, 9-11-2 against the spread. And a key trend in this one, Minnesota has been much better at home, 13-1 at home as opposed to 0-8 away. So they are at home in this one. Lee from ASA joining us to break this one all down for us. Lee, what stands out to you about these two teams?
Yeah, you stole my thunder. I was going to talk about the home road dichotomy for Minnesota. As you mentioned, 13-1 straight up at home, 0-8 straight up on the road. Their margin of victory is very solid at home. It's at 12.3 points per game. If you look at who they've played at home too, just in Big Ten play, they beat Purdue at home. They beat Purdue by 3. They beat Michigan by 18, who we feel is the best team in the Big Ten. Beat Ohio State by 17. And beat Iowa by 7. All those teams are comparable to Illinois. Minnesota at home in Big Ten games, as you mentioned before, their home road dichotomy is drastically different. In Big Ten games at home, their offensive efficiency is 1.078 points per possession compared to less than a point per possession on the road at 0.959. These two teams did meet earlier this year. Minnesota got embarrassed at Illinois, so we do like the revenge angle. They lost 65-92 in that game as a 9-point underdog. Gophers shot horribly in that game, 28% overall, 25% from 3, while Illinois connected on 53% from the field, and they dominated the glass. But, Illinois on the road, too, they're 5-2 straight up. But if you look at their Big Ten games, right, they beat Nebraska on the road by 5 in overtime, and Nebraska's a bad team in the Big Ten. Beat Indiana by 4 in overtime. Did beat Northwestern and Penn State pretty handily, but they did lose to Rutgers on the road. None of those teams are as good as Minnesota is at home, where they're 38-9 straight up their last 47 at home. They've won those games by an average of 10.5 points per game. And we feel that Minnesota is going to pull an upset here, and we'll back them plus points.
Wow, that is a bit of a, bold take here, especially how good Illinois has been offensively. One of the better teams in the nation when it comes to offense, led by Kofi Cockburn, who had a monster of a game last time out against Minnesota, 33 points and 16 rebounds. And you talk about how bad Minnesota shot in that last game. It seems like as Marcus Carr goes, so do the Golden Gophers. And last game, he was 3 of 13 from the field, even though he did end up with 16 points, most of those coming off of free throws. So I think if Carr is more of a factor in this one, Minnesota definitely has a chance. And I think for me, it's the number. I don't know if I'm seeing an upset here just because I think Illinois is so good offensively, and I'm not sure if Minnesota can keep up, especially when you're talking about a team that's so good from both ends. Down low, they've got Cockburn and one of the better rebounding teams in the Big Ten. So I think that's a factor that you've got to factor in. But we're looking at 5.5 points. That's the issue with Illinois. They've let some of these teams hang around that are much worse than them. And they've been kind of bad at covering numbers in that regard. So looking at a total of 149.5, pretty high. Any leanings there?
Yeah, that's an interesting number. I feel the number's pretty spot on by Vegas. As you mentioned, Illinois is top 15 in both offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. Not many teams in the country can boast that, but Minnesota's not quite as bad as you think. They're 29th in the nation in offensive efficiency, 62nd in defensive efficiency. They have their troubles. If Minnesota doesn't shoot well, they don't cover and the game stays under. I'm banking on Minnesota shooting well at home where they have all season. But as far as that total is concerned, I think I'm just going to stay away. I think that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, I think that's pretty high, too. One other note, Minnesota will be without their best defender as Gabe Kalsher has a broken finger and he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. So it might be a good spot for Ayo Dosunmu, who's been really good in the clutch for Illinois, shooting at 44% from three-point land. So maybe a game breaker there. But the thing is, I think the spread is a little too high. I think a lot of people like Illinois as one of those teams to possibly make a run in the tournament, and I think the odds makers are probably banking off that. I think on on the rough, a lot of points. Anything else you think better should know?
Talking about the number, and again, we feel Michigan's the best team in the conference. Minnesota was just plus 5.5 at home against Michigan, and they were favored against Ohio State and Purdue. So, I don't feel that Illinois should be this large of a favorite, and I think the value, is, as you said before, is in the underdog and the number.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our Big Ten talk here on Picks and Parlays. Great stuff from Lee from ASA. Lee, thanks for joining us.